One.
David had to throw the break or he's taking.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to our October meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and let's start by Commissioner Markey. Can you lead us in the pledge, sir?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And as you can see, we all broke out our pink ties and shirts for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, as we always do. So thank you all for being here. I'd like to recognize our ambassadors. Mr. Mike Gautreaux is here. Mr. Mike Mervis, Miss Robbie Roberts, and as always, Mr. Mac McLeod. Good to see you guys this morning. And I trust that you've all read the agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda for today?
So moved.
Mr. Chairman,
Do I hear a second? Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I also believe that Jerry has read the minutes. And do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
having read them thoroughly, word by word, period by period, I make a motion to approve the minutes that I've read thoroughly.
And that's for the September 25th meeting. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to personal appearances and presentations. We're going to move the Employee Service Awards down one, and we're going to hear about the ad valorem tax abatement program. The EDC, the Brevard County EDC is here, and Ms. Gail Hart, you have the stage.
Thank you, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me today. My name is Gail Hart, as he mentioned, and I am a marketing and communications professional with Acuity International here in Cape Canaveral, formerly known as Comprehensive Health Services, if you've been here any length of time at all. I'm here today to share a brief overview of the Brevard County Ad valorem Tax Abatement Program, or AVT. It will be on your ballot, the upcoming ballot on page 4, very specifically. Let's talk first about why this is important to Brevard County. Very specifically, the program helps Brevard County become more competitive by increasing tax base. It attracts and retains businesses and helps make Brevard County more attractive. In many cases, this is the only incentive that we have to offer new and expanding businesses who would consider Brevard County as their home. What is this program? The AVT program is designed to bring new revenue into Brevard County by requiring businesses to create at least 10 jobs. These jobs must fall into stipulated, targeted industries stipulated by the state of Florida. These wages must be above the median county wage of $61,784, and these wages are reviewed annually. More importantly, and to clarify, the AVT program is a tax reduction, not a tax elimination. It abates only a portion of the county general fund taxes for a limited interval of time, whatever the business is approved for in length of term. As you will note on the screen, this statement also shows that the program does not allow for exemption from school taxes, water management, district taxes, taxes that were authorized by the voters for bond issues, or other special taxes levied by a city or county. So under the Sunshine Law, How is it determined that a company is qualified to participate in this program? The AVT Council serves as a recommending body to the County Commission for this AVT program. This council includes such representatives as Brevard County staff, each city that offers an AVT program, Canaveral Port Authority, CareerSource Brevard, EDC investors, and the business community. The Ad valorem Tax Abatement Committee is subject to the Sunshine Law, requiring that the meetings be publicly noticed, that the meetings be conducted open to the public, and that meeting minutes be recorded as public record. So the guidelines for compliance of the program include the following. It promotes accountability. It ensures that the abatements are finite and performance-based. It reports annually by submitting the Florida Department of Revenue Form 418 to the county staff who administers this program. It removes companies in the program that do not meet the job creation and wage or capital investment requirements. So how is this program working? Program validation confirms that the jobs created using the program are above the median county wage. Companies make significant investments and renovate or construct new facilities. And new companies would buy and or contract for products or services locally, which contributes to our local economy. Now let's measure some of that success. During the EDC teamed with Florida Tech to perform an in-depth and comprehensive analysis of the Brevard County AVT program with a specific emphasis on assessing taxpayers' return on investment. Using analysis, visualization, and validation, the research identified AVT program benefits to the Space Coast from the years 2005 to 2023, showing that 9.3 thousand total jobs were created, direct, indirect, and induced jobs included. 83.8 million total taxes were paid, where 17.4 million taxes were abated, and 4.43 billion total wages were earned, all with the direct, indirect, and induced labor categories. Now, the dollar-for-dollar tax benefits during that same period show that for every $1 of AVT incentive award, the Space Coast received $4.82 in levied or paid taxes. And for capital investment benefits, the same $1 AVT incentive award provided the Space Coast with $33.38 in capital investment. Now, the bar chart that you see on the screen is showing the taxes levied by industry, highlighting year-over-year fiscal contributions and sector growth of the participating businesses for this same period between 2005 and 2023. In summary, the Florida statutes mandate renewal of the Brevard County AVT program in a countywide referendum every 10 years. While the program was originally approved in the 1994 general election, it passed with 51.4% of the voter support. It renewed again in 2004 with 62.6%. And then renewed again in 2014 with 70.3% of voter support with the county voters. Renewal in 2024 will require support from the business community in order to pass and extend this program. So today I come to you as an employee of a former AVT program participant, Comprehensive Health Services. I ask that you vote yes for the AVT referendum so that we can renew the ad valorem tax abatement program for yet another 10 years. Pending any questions, that's all I have.
Thank you very much,
I don't have any
Gail.
question,
You
it's
guys-
interesting how it came into existence, because I thought the county had the ability to do tax abatement anyway, so I didn't realize that there was a 10-year cap, so it had to be continuously renewed.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you for coming in and giving that presentation. This is a very important tool for our county, I know, to be competitive, not only in healthcare industry and things like that, but I know that this is big in space and for all the jobs that we have here now from the space program in the last 10 years, so.
Yes, and as I mentioned, this in many cases is the only incentive that we have available to us currently. We would suggest that it be used like a tool. If we don't have that tool, then we don't have that resource, which to your point may be that they would have that ability to grant that. But provided that we approve this, we will continue to have that tool.
Well, thank you very much, Gail. I'm going to,
Thank you.
Miss Melanie, do we have our Employee Service Awards folks here? No? Okay, so I'm going to go back to Miss Amanda, and you are up, ma'am.
Good morning, I'm Amanda Brailsford Urbina of Human Resources, and I'm here to present our Service Award honoree. We did have three, unfortunately 2 are not able to attend. They're both in automation, and I'm sure they're probably doing something to keep our cruise passengers going. They both work on the gangway, so they probably are doing something related to that that's keeping them away from here. I'm happy to speak about Donna Greenslade, who I work with very closely. Donna's date of hire was September 13th, 2004. We are so happy to recognize and celebrate the 20-year anniversary of Donna Greenslade. Donna joined the Port in September 2004 as executive assistant to the CEO, and in 2010 she was promoted to senior executive assistant and staff administrator. She transferred to HR as a HR manager in 2013, and she was promoted in 2017 to assistant director human resources. Now, she has been the director of HR since 2022. Her work covers all areas of HR, from benefits and compensation to employee and labor relations. She also works with the Captain's Council to plan and execute employee events. During her time at the Port, she has really grown in education as well. She has earned her bachelor's degree, and she also got a SHRM HR certification in 2019. So she's a really good example of how somebody has shown career growth and also educational growth. Donna has a passion for helping employees and ensuring that HR services are at the highest level possible. With Donna being here 20 years, I asked her team, could they come up with 20 words to describe Donna? And I had to stop them at a certain point because it got to be so many. She's very well loved by her team and by the other employees here. At home, Donna enjoys spending time with her family, including her grandson Jameson and her little dog Tucker. I'd like to give thanks to Donna, and please join me in congratulating her milestone achievement. Oh, he's here, okay. Well, we can do Rob. Sorry. We're a little bit out of order, but that's fine. We're happy he's here. So Rob is Robert Booth. He works in automation. and his date of hire was August 19th, 2014. Rob started as a system electrician in August 2014, and in April 2015, his position changed to Automation Controls Technician B. In this position, he's responsible for maintenance and repair of the passenger boarding bridges and automated equipment and systems. He's also responsible for the maintenance and repairs of automated electrical systems of LED lighting, controller-type systems, automated gate access systems, baggage conveyors, irrigation systems, power generation systems, and transfer switch equipment. His manager states he's an excellent employee and he is a lead for the automation team. Robert loves outdoor activities such as hiking and fishing. He likes to travel and spend time with his wife of 38 years, Piana, his 3 children, and his 4 grandchildren. Thank you very much, Robert. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Amanda. And now we're going to move on to our sand bypass project. Mr. Musser, this is your time to shine.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Bob Musser, Senior Director of Environmental. Wanted to, at the last September meeting, I mentioned that we'd have a presentation on everything that's going on our beaches. And after going through Hurricane Milton, I think it's even more important of all the projects coming up. So to say that we have a lot of federal beach and dredging projects coming up would be an understatement. We have Canaveral Sand Bypass that was just recently awarded. This is Sand Bypass number 6 to Great Lakes Dredge and Dock. That'll be starting up in the next month or so. We also have the Brevard County Shore Protection Project, the continuation of the Mid and South Reach project, the truck haul project. That will be starting up in November. That's being done by Dutra. We also will be having a federal O&M maintenance dredging on our channels coming up for bid here in the next month or so. And that's all in addition to the work that we're going to be doing here in the port at North Cargo Berth 4, North Cargo Berth 8, North Cargo Berths 1 and 2, and maintenance dredging all throughout the port with Dutra. So I have a lot of contractors, a lot of work going on here in the next many, many months. I did want to recognize, where's Milan? Milan Mora is here. He is the section chief for the Water Resources Branch in Jacksonville. And you may remember, I think it was last year, we recognized Milan. He was the 2022 Civilian of the Year awardee for all core districts all throughout the country. And we had a little presentation to him back, I think, in 2023. So thank you for coming. I didn't know if you wanted to say anything here.
I do have the plaque in my office.
Awesome.
Every day. Thank you.
With that, I'm going to turn it over to Chris Wren. Chris Wren's been with us for, about 3 years now? He's our senior project manager with the Army Corps from Jacksonville. He's going to take you through and give you an overview of the 3 federal projects that I mentioned that are going to be coming up here. So, Chris?
Thanks, Bob. Appreciate the kind words. Good morning, gentlemen of the board. Chris Wren, Project Manager, Army Corps of Engineers, Jacksonville District. As Bob said, I'm going to provide you an overview of the 6th iteration of the Canaveral Harbor Sand Bypass Project, as well as a brief overview of the other projects that Bob mentioned are happening here in Brevard County that we are managing. So this has been a while coming. If you remember, most of you might remember the last sand bypass we started in 2018, finished in 2019, 6 years ago now. This has been a long time coming. We're doing something different this time, and I'll go into more details of what that is. There's been a lot of work, a lot of coordination, a lot of creative brainstorming goes into what we're about to do. So I want to thank our partners, not only at the port, Brevard County itself, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, Foth Olson, Dr. Kevin Bodge there, Florida Department of Environmental Protection, many others are involved in getting us to where we are today. All right, so before I do that, I want to give a brief overview of really two different projects that happen here, and they're both aimed at the same shoreline. One being the Sand Bypass Project, for which the port is, of course, a sponsor for, and the other being the North Reach segment of the Brevard County Shore Protection Project, which Brevard County is the sponsor for. Both are aimed at placing sand within what you see here in the graphics from the south jetty of Port Canaveral to Patrick Space Force Base. I might interchangeably use North Reach, Sand Bypass. We mean the same stretch of shoreline, the city of Cape Canaveral and Cocoa Beach. So this all started in '95 with the first iteration of Sand Bypass that you see here. That green line out there floating in the middle of the ocean, if you just kind of use your imagination to push it to the shore, would roughly equate to where that sand was placed. And it all came out of that green area, the Sand Bypass dredge area. I included in here the R monuments, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection R monuments. For those not familiar, they're roughly every 1,000 feet for every R monument. So that first sand bypassing placed about 1 million yards along the first 10,000 feet of shoreline here. A couple years later, Sand Bypass 2, fairly comparable in size and length to the first Sand Bypass, again coming out of the same dredge area. And then in 2001, we had initial construction of a North Reach, which placed sand along the entire length of the shoreline, 3.2 million yards, big one. All that came from an offshore bar area called Canaveral Shoals 2. And this will become important, the distinction between the two projects. Other than different sponsors, different authorities, different technical, really where is the sand coming from is kind of the biggest, I would argue that one of the biggest differences between the two projects at a ground level. Canaveral Shoals 2 not only feeds the North Reach, of course, it's been feeding the South Reach for many years down in Melbourne Harbor, the city of Melbourne. It's fed the Mid-Reach renourishment, Satellite Beach, Indian Atlantic. So it's not just this project that takes from the Canaveral Shoals 2. It's not as much of a renewable source, meaning that there's a limited amount of sand in Canaveral Shoals 2. The sand that comes into the Sand Bypass dredge area from the north might not be unlimited, infinite, but it replenishes itself as a very steady rate of sand flowing in from the north, filling into that area. And it's been very consistent. Dr. Bodge and Foth Olson have done a lot of monitoring to quantify how much sand just keeps coming in from the north. So I'd say, it's a sustainable source of sand, if you want to use that terminology. Going in 2005, first renourishment of North Reach. You can see the two placement areas. Again, coming from Canaveral Shoals 2 offshore. 2 years after that, Sand Bypass 3. Again, limited to the very northern part of City of Cape Canaveral, 750,000 yards about. You're starting to see a pattern here of us alternating, flip-flopping between either project, either source of sand. 2010, Sand Bypass 4, again, the northern portion, just under 700,000 yards. 2014, 4 years later, the second nourishment of North Reach, again, very similar to the first renourishment, about 1 million yards, most in the north and most in the south, again, coming from Canaveral Shoals 2. 4 years later, third nourishment of North Reach, similar to the second. 2019, I'm sure many of you are familiar with the last sand bypassing we did, Sand Bypass 5, the largest to date that was actually completed. This one pushed just past the Cocoa Beach Pier, about 1.3 million cubic yards. And then we turn around and 2 years later do the fourth renourishment of North Reach, this time mostly sticking to the southern part of the project area in Cocoa Beach, fairly small comparatively to the previous renourishments. So we realized that there's some inefficiencies here, that this could be done more efficiently, right? We're going back and forth every 2, 3, 4 years, taking from different sources. Each project has a renourishment or an interval of about 6 years. So each project should be done every 6 years. And we realized, well, can these things be combined to be done at the same time, to do it all at once, and can we make a better use of where we get our sand from? So with that, we have what we're about to do, the sixth renourishment, 1.5 million cubic yards, all coming out of the north, the shoreline north of the port, along these two placement areas, which I'll go into more detail. So this achieves, I feel it achieves a few different benefits. It gets more sand out of the bypass area, and that sand could if not gone, could make its way around the jetty into the navigation channel, and then we'd have to dredge it out and dispose it of offshore in the offshore disposal area. It's gone forever to the system. So getting more material out of the shoreline north of the port can help benefit maintenance of the channel itself. It reduces the amount of the sand we're getting from offshore in Canal Shoals 2, so that sand can be saved for the South Reach, the Mid Reach, Patrick Space Force Base if they did their own, when they do their own nourishments. So I think it's a more sustainable way of doing this project. And I think there's a lot of benefits, both economic and cost-wise, that we're still working to quantify, get more details on quantifying. But it appears to be a more beneficial way of doing this project. So getting into the details of this sand bypass 6, again, 1.5 million cubic yards from north of the port. Great Lakes Dredge and Dock was awarded the contract back on September 20th. For $40.6 million. This is all 100% federally funded from the Disaster Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act. So the same funding that provides for Hurricane Ian and Nicole rehabilitation. The bar area, sand bypass dredge area, there's 2 placement areas. The first one is about 3.3 miles, 1 million cubic yards or just under. And the other one, 3.7 miles, just under 500,000 yards, and I'll go into more detail on those 2 placement areas. The contract period of performance runs technically until next summer, so I think it's about June of 26. But Great Lakes has indicated they should be able to get there. They intend to get all the work done this construction season, meaning between November 1st of this year and April 30th of next year. They intend to do the entire thing. So at this point, we don't forecast a second season of construction in the next winter. Go into more detail on the placement areas. The start of the northern segment area is roughly Harbor Drive, you see there, and continue to about Palm Lane, just south of Shepherd Park. And then the southern placement area starts at around North 2nd Street and continues down just into Patrick Space Force Base around Tables Beach. And those are the 2 areas that will be receiving sand between November and April of next year. We have our pre-construction conference with Great Lakes here in this very room on this Friday to go over more details, to get an understanding of what the schedule is. And once we have that information, we'll be providing that to Bob and to you as well, and through our press releases coordinated with the port, so that the public understands when the work is happening, where it's going to happen, and what they can expect to see on the beach. Probably most notably to the port, there will be a submerged pipeline placed under the navigation channel roughly in this area that will be used to transport sand from the bypass dredge area under the channel and then down further to the south beaches. It will be placed below the authorized depth of 46 feet, but I would expect there will be some period of closure or a brief time when the channel will have to be closed so that pipeline can be floated in place and sunk, surveyed, and that will be coordinated closely with the Coast Guard and the port. I don't have details on when that exactly would occur, probably within the next 30 to 60 days timeframe. The other one that Bob mentioned I want to touch on, this is our next regular O&M dredging of Canaveral Harbor. We sent out our sources sought, so this is all public information. It's already been posted last month. We intend to advertise on November 12th. Fairly comparable to the last dredging we did last year with Norfolk Dredging Company, both. But we'll get into more details once that has been advertised. But again, fairly comparable to what we just did last year. That'll be coming up next year as well. And this, again, is, as usual, 100% federally funded. And then here is an overview of the 3 different major projects, dredging projects we have ongoing or are preparing to do in Brevard County. One, of course, being the sand bypass. You see that in the middle, $40.6 million, 100% federally funded. On the left side, this is the second season of our nourishment in the Mid-Reach and South Reach. If you remember, that beach construction started earlier this year, January through April of this year timeframe. Didn't get everything done in that period, so the Dutra Group will be coming back next month to begin to recontinue building the beaches within the South Reach and the Mid Reach. We have our meeting with them tomorrow, actually, to go over more details of the second season. $47.6 million, again, 100% federally funded. to mitigate for damages from Hurricanes Ian and Nicole. And then next year, we plan to advertise, rather, we are preparing to advertise the next O&M dredging of Canaveral Harbor. So there might be a point next year where we see 3 different dredgers doing 3 different contracts, all within a fairly small area, all within Brevard County, doing major core projects in these areas. And then just to close on to some pictures from the last bypassing 5 in 2018, 2019. Expect to look fairly similar to this, but more to follow as we get more details from Great Lakes. Thank you for your time, gentlemen. I'll be happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you. Go ahead, Fritz.
Chris, what, you said there were monuments about every 1,000 feet. Are those physical monuments that are actually on the shoreline there?
I
Or?
don't believe you would be able to go out there and find a
Okay.
puck in the ground. And there are the other kinds of markers, but I don't believe there's actual physical monument out there.
They're tied into survey markers.
I got you.
Distance.
Right.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
I'd just like to say, thanks again for the presentation, great. And congrats on making the effort and finding even a more efficient way to being strategic and then operationalizing it. And then, now you're getting down to the tactical stuff, but it's really very important and appreciate the effort.
Thank you very much. I had a couple questions for Bob, if you guys don't have any more questions for Army Corps. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, sir.
Bob, do the local municipalities here, Cocoa Beach, Cape Canaveral, they're familiar with sand bypass, but do they understand the process?
We are coordinating with them, I believe. Don't run away, Chris, but I believe they've all been invited to come to the pre-construction meeting on Friday that's here, so we can start that process of getting the information out. As Chris mentioned, we don't have on Friday, we should get more information on schedule, timing, and everything from Great Lakes. We don't have that, but that will be shared out to all the communities.
Yeah, the timing is really good with the last hurricane. I know Mayor Wes Morrison at the city of Cape Canaveral was posting some things during the storm, and so it'd be good if they understand how this process works and how we're all a part of it. And so I'm assuming that they may be familiar, but they're just not here to ask that. So
Yeah, the beaches definitely took between Helene and Milton. They took a hit, and it just is kind of fateful timing that this project is coming up. This is as Chris mentioned, this is the 6th sand bypass project. I've actually worked on 4 of them. The 2 the one from 07 and 10, and then the one in 19, and then this one. So we work real closely because as they move down the beach with the graphic that Chris put up, I think it was the last one. Oops. As they move down the beach, there will be walkovers on the pipe so people can still access the beach. We're working on notifications. We'll put some posters out on all the dune walkovers from Jetty Park all the way down to Patrick Space Force Base, so everybody is aware. We will also have through Olson Foth, we're going to have a website that's going to provide details and updates on a regular basis on where they plan to be working at, and that'll go out to the public as well. So we're just starting on getting all the information together that's going to be provided out to provide as much information as we can to the cities and the public.
okay, very good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And moving on, I do see, Melanie, there's 2 agendas, one on my computer and one on this piece of paper. So we do not have a presentation for Mrs. Mayfield, is that right? I was just looking on my computer here. So, all right, so moving on. So there's the meeting dates for 2025, is that the next item? Okay. Do we have the dates?
They're on your computer.
Here you go.
I don't think we have a printout.
Okay, we have the dates. Is everyone okay with the dates? I guess we can always change the dates later. Jerry always likes to have a meeting on his birthday, so.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the 2025 commission meeting schedule.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. We have dates. All right, John, you're up. Yeah.
Good morning. We're going to start our presentation a little differently today. We're going to jump right into what we've been doing for the last 30 days, because since our last meeting, we've had 2 hurricanes pass through the port. So I'll talk a little bit about Helene. Helene, we set condition Zulu at 11:30 on September 25th and closed the port. We reopened at 9 a.m. on September 27th. There was no damage to the port. That one was okay. Hurricane Milton, we did Zulu, closed the port at 6 a.m. on October 9th. Landside operations were able to resume at 2 p.m. in the afternoon of October 10th. And on the 11th, we resumed all waterside operations and opened the port on October 11th. We accepted 7 cruise vessels within 24 hours of opening, and in the first 48 hours of opening, we had 1,426 trucks loaded with 12 million gallons of fuel dispatched to Florida communities and airports just within 48 hours. We had minimal damage in the port. We still have some railings down at the pier, some of the minor damage, but most of it was just trees and vegetation. So we did fairly well. Took a while to get power back, but we finally got everything up and running, like I say, on Friday. So not as bad as it could have been. This storm was a little different because Milton was, earmarked to go right up Tampa Bay, and that would have compromised the fuel supply. A third of the fuel comes out of that area from Tampa and Port Manatee that comes into the state of Florida. So we were engaged with the state level, Executive Office of the Governor, FDOT, Florida Department of Commerce, Division of Emergency Management early on, because we have 2 terminals to ramp up and supply additional fuel through the state. Seaport Canaveral, VTTI, is the largest terminal in the state of Florida. It supplies gas, diesel, and jet fuels. Transmontane on the south side, owned by a company called World Fuels, which is the largest public company in Florida, supplies gas and diesel. The port provided FDOT with strategy and framework to surge fuel supplies to Florida communities and airports to offset the loss of potential losses on the Tampa Bay side. And for a week up until last Friday, we were providing twice daily reports of truck loadings and fuel volumes to the governor's office and Department of Emergency Management. On that 7 days, we did 3,600 total tank trucks, 30.8 million gallons of fuel were distributed, which is about twice what our normal throughput is. So I just want to say thanks to everybody that participated in that surge operation. Fortunately, Tampa Bay wasn't hurt as bad as it could have been, and the fuel terminals were up and running. There were some failures on the pipeline from Tampa into the Orlando airport. They had to run trucks from Tampa up to supply jet. But we were able to double our capacity through here, our throughput, not our capacity, but our throughput to help out. And I want to say thanks to everyone, including our port partners that helped make it happen. On our cruise side, we finished the year at 911 ship calls, 7.6 million multi-day passengers. Good news, the Star of the Seas, which is coming to us next year in August, was floated out of the dry dock on October 3rd. Norwegian Epic will be back next week on her first call for the winter season. Disney Treasure's inaugural arrival will be on November 12th, and the Disney Wish will begin sailing from CT-10 in December. Voyage of the Seas, first call is November 26th, so she'll be back for her winter seasonal sailings with Royal Caribbean. And we have the Caribbean Princess inaugural sailing starting on November 27th. As you remember, that's the first time Princess will home port in Port Canaveral. We also have Cruise Business Development attending the FCCA Annual Cruise Conference and Trade Show this week. And we've got a lot going on with our cruise partners right now. So nothing other than this that I can share, but we're going to be very busy over the next few years. Cruise update, you see that our numbers are higher than they were last year. It's been stronger than we expected for August and September, so that was positive. On the cargo side, it's 728 ship calls, including lay berths, 6.6 million tons. We had the Break Bulk Americas Conference in Houston last week. We had meetings with current prospective customers and partners. We had a great showing and a lot of attendees. I think it's about 4,000 attendees go to this event. It's an annual event, always in Houston. Year-to-date recovered space components, we've done 62 boosters versus 50 last year. This is calendar year. 150 fairings versus 105 last year. And Blue Origin did a simulated booster recovery with their simulated booster just in the past month. On community updates, we had Hurricane Helene and Milton social media engagement, real-time updates, social media and the website. We coordinated messages with public safety, real estate, recreation teams. We had a very strong social media engagement, over 1 million reached just on social media, which Steve tells me that's an amazing number for local social media. We had coverage on fuel supplies for hurricane-impacted communities. We worked with actually, Melanie Holt got into the lead on that and learned about the fuel issues that we were working on early in the process and reported on it throughout the event. So hats off to her for good coverage. We also had national, local media, over 16 million reached on that. Jetty Park, occupancy is 37%. This is our slow time of the year. Average daily vehicle count, 295. We did have to evacuate the campground for both Helene and Milton. Park reopening was delayed by power outages. That's one of the areas we did have some power problems in the pier. Still remains closed due to damage from Hurricane Milton. Like I said, mostly handrails and the like. And this is just a picture of the queue of trucks that we had that were moving through here. We were doing in excess of right at 400 trucks a day of fuel, so it's pretty impressive. Any questions? Short report. We've been playing with hurricanes.
Thank you, John.
All right, thanks.
You guys have any more questions? That's it. Mr. Long, you are up.
Good morning. I'm very excited to review our September financial results with you. As you know, September is the last month of our fiscal year 24, so I'll be reviewing the September results. Also, we'll be looking at our 12-month results for fiscal year 25. So very exciting. We had a fantastic financial year. I do want to say that the numbers I'm going to be going over with you are preliminary. They're unaudited. We will have our external CPA firm, RSM, come in the first couple of weeks of December to perform field work for the year-end audit, and then they will present to you in January, February's board meeting with the final audit results, audited numbers. Following my presentation of the September and year-end results, I'm going to also give you an update on the financial impact from Hurricane Milton from 2 weeks ago. So taking a look at our September results for the month, operating revenues $14.5 million, operating expenses $11.6 million. So our operating income for the month of September, $2.9 million. For the year, again, these are preliminary numbers. Our total operating revenues, $190.9 million. That is a port record. We were $3.7 million above our budget for fiscal year 24, or about 2% above. Operating expenses, $120.3 million. We were actually under budget by about $2.2 million, or 2%. So the result of that is our operating income for the fiscal year was $70.6 million, which is $6 million above budget, which is about a 9% favorable variance. Looking at our September just monthly statistics from a cruise and cargo perspective, John mentioned some of this already, but we had 66 cruise calls for the month, 557,000 passengers in the month of September, which was about 11% increase year over year as we compare the number of revenue passengers to last September. From a cargo perspective, 73 cargo calls, 418,000 tons moved through the port, led mainly by fuel. Year-to-date statistics for the 12 months ending September, cruise calls 911. We had 7.6 million revenue cruise passengers, which is an all-time record here at the port. 288,000 above our budget for fiscal year 24 and 812,000 over where we were through fiscal year 2023. So, very exciting to see those numbers, and we're also very excited about our fiscal year 25 budgeted revenue passengers, which are budgeted at 8.4 million. So we'll continue to see the passengers increase. From a cargo perspective, 728 cargo calls, 6.6 million tons, mainly fuel, 3.6 million, also limestone and granite, 1.1 million, forest products and slag are the next highest commodities. Total passengers, again, 7.6 million revenue passengers for the fiscal year. Our budget was 7.3 million. From a cargo perspective, through fiscal year 24 for the 12 months, our cargo revenue was 23.2 million. That breaks down from our for fees of about 17 million and rent from our cargo partners of about 6.2 million. 728 cargo calls, 6.6 million tons. So you can see the graph on the right-hand side. Petroleum fuel is our largest commodity moved through the port. September revenues for the year, for the month. You can see for the month of September, 14.5 million actual revenues compared to budget of 13.6. So we were favorable 907,000 or 6.7% for the month. Taking a look at cruise passengers, revenue cruise passengers, as we compare our passengers by quarter to 2023. You can see each quarter we had higher passengers in FY24 than we did per quarter in FY23. Again, a total 7.6 million revenue passengers in fiscal year 24. As John indicated, passengers by month, pretty much each month, almost each month of the year in 2024 was higher than our fiscal year 2023 numbers. Other revenue, leases, recreation, which is mainly Jetty Park, and also miscellaneous revenue. We were actually above budget in these areas by about $500,000. Our actual revenues, 11.7 million. Leases made up 4.8 million of other revenue. Recreation, Jetty Park, about 4 million, and miscellaneous just under 3 million. So the result of all this is for fiscal year 24, our total operating revenues, again, a port record, 191 million, which was about 3.7 million above budget or 2%. You can see the different line items there. Cruise, of course, being the largest line item that we have. Cruise, CCRC, which is capital cost recovery charge, which is cruise related, and also cruise parking. Cargo, as you can see, was right at budget. Leases a little above budget. Recreation right at budget, and miscellaneous right at budget as well. Total expenses for fiscal year 24 totaled 120.3 million, which was about 2% below budget. So we had a favorable variance from an operating expense standpoint. So the result of all that is our operating income was 70.6 million for the fiscal year. After consideration of non-operating revenues, which is mainly interest that we earn on our investments, less non-operating expenses, which is mainly expenses we pay on our long-term debt, we had a bottom line, or what we refer to as addition to net position for debt reduction and port development of $70.3 million for fiscal year '24. So we use these funds to invest in the port, invest in port projects, invest in the people we have here at the port, employees. We also use these funds and these profits to manage our debt repayment and interest repayment schedule. And as you compare fiscal year '24, which is off to the right, looking at revenues, which is green, expenses, the yellow bar, and operating income, the blue, you can see over the last several years how we've done. Of course, FY20 and FY21 were impacted significantly from COVID, but you can see what has happened since COVID. FY22, we started coming back in a big way, and FY23 and now FY24, we are really coming back in full force. So again, a very successful fiscal year for us, and we're excited about the future as well. Any questions about the financials? I know each of you have received the detailed financial statements. I met with you individually over the last 2 days to answer any questions that you had. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. If not, I would ask that you would accept and
Always a
approve.
good report, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
I'll make a motion to accept the financial memo for September 2024. Approve the list of disposals, legal bills, and commissioner minor expenses for September 2024. And to accept the statistical report, aging report, and list of bills for September 2024.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do you have anything else to report on that, or are we good?
No, we're good.
Okay, very good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor?
Aye.
No opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Jeff.
All right. I'd like to spend a few minutes going over the financial impact of Milton that obviously occurred 2 weeks ago. So we have a revenue shortfall impact, and we also have an expense impact, of course. From a revenue perspective, you can see here that we are estimating a revenue shortfall of about $650,000 because directly related to Hurricane Milton. We had 2 canceled sailings. You can see the MSC Seashore canceled a sailing, as did the Disney Wish. So the lost revenue from those 2 sailings were $193,000 and $159,000 respectively. We also had 2 canceled portacalls. The Royal Caribbean Symphony of the Seas, which originates in New Jersey, it canceled their portacall that was scheduled to come during Hurricane Milton. Also, the MSC Meraviglia, which originates in New York, also canceled their portacall. So the revenue from those 2, $72,000, $62,000 from those 2 respectively. Additionally, other revenue shortfall. We had a couple of sailings that occurred the weekend after we reopened the port, but a couple of those sailings reduced their day sailing. So instead of a 5-day cruise, they reduced it to 4, or from a 3 to a 2. So we saw a lower capacity than what we had budgeted for those sailings. Additionally, we lost parking, of course, related to that. We also, because of Jetty Park closing and the power issues there, we also had revenue shortfall from our recreation area. So total revenue shortfall, about $650,000. From an expense standpoint, we had about $500,000 of expenses, but we are anticipating being reimbursed by FEMA for about $200,000 of those expenses. So taking a look at our total expenses before the FEMA reimbursement that we estimate, waterside repair was the largest portion, $215,000. Debris removal from all around the port, all across the port, $120,000. The Jetty Park fishing pier that we mentioned before is being repaired. We estimate that will be $80,000. Cruise Terminal 10 had damage to the canopy that we are repairing. Other expenses that we incurred, again, totaling $500,000 in total. Again, we hope to be reimbursed about $200,000. So our net expenses after the FEMA reimbursement, we anticipate being $300,000. So in total, from a financial impact, we're looking at about $1 million. Revenue $650,000, and then From an expense standpoint, net of the FEMA, another 300. So about $950,000 or $1 million financial impact from Hurricane Milton. So, could have been a lot worse, so we're thankful that it wasn't, but we still will have a significant financial impact. And you'll see these numbers that I'm going over, the impact, you'll see that reflected in our October financials that I will be presenting during the December 11th commission meeting. Any questions?
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Any questions, guys?
I just want to commend you for putting those numbers together. I think it's more impactful for us to see the specifics and to understand that everyone suffers from these storms.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Jeff, we're going to be reimbursed from FEMA for some. And are there any other sources of reimbursement through insurance or?
No, our insurance did not kick in. We're fortunate that we didn't meet the threshold for that, our deductible and our minimum. So, damage was, relatively small. So we are not pursuing any insurance funds. We will be looking at FEMA, and that is the only avenue at this point that we anticipate getting funds.
But as Kevin has pointed out, it's good information for us to know what the impact was,
right.
even though there's a shortfall in our revenues and those things, but still, we're still in good shape.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to our October capital projects update. Mr. Bill Crow.
Morning, Mr. Chairman. Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Thank you for the opportunity to provide this brief overview of just a few projects that we have on the consent agenda. Going to start with item 1C, the Jetty Park Pavilion project. And I know we've been discussing this for quite some time. Really excited to bring this one to the table. We've been working with W&J on the cost of that renovation. It's about $1.7 million. It's going to take us 8 to 9 months to complete this work. The scope of work includes, as we've discussed, a partial demolition of the existing facility. About 2/3, the southern 2/3 of that existing facility will be razed, will be removed. They'll be replaced by an open air pavilion with room for up to 9 picnic tables. And you see that in the graphic, the bottom of the graphic to the right of the permanent facility, that is that open air pavilion. This facility is an existing building, concrete building, very robust, and it will be fully gutted and renovated to be all new restroom facilities. So you'll have picnic tables, open air pavilion flanked by substantial restroom facilities. And then one of my favorite aspects that I like to talk about, and this is a brainchild of Mike Hoffman with the Recreation Department, is space for 3 food trucks. So as you recall, once upon a time we do have an existing kitchen. There have been a few different efforts in that existing pavilion to run that kitchen. The demand is very seasonal. So the key to the food trucks really meets that seasonality and gives recreation a lot of variety in what they can bring to the table to the users of Jetty Park. So we're really excited about that solution. All new pavement, striping, new landscaping, sod, and trees. Any questions on this item 1C?
The food trucks would be in the red box?
That is correct. I'll point that out. To the south of the covered pavilion, we'll have electrical pedestals for 3 food trucks to plug in, so they will not have to run their generators outside the truck or trailer, if it may be a trailer. So room for 3, and open air, flat work, sidewalk connecting to the area of the food trucks, and then you've got the restrooms on the north side as well. So it's a great little improvement to that area, and I know it's going to bring a lot of usefulness to the Recreation Department, and the users of Jetty Park will really enjoy the new facility.
And when is the scheduled completion?
So we need about 8 to 9 months to complete the project. So that is going to put us into next summer for completion. So we'll push W&J as quickly as we can to wrap up that work, because summer is prime time for use of the park, the day park, and certainly this facility. All right, gonna jump to item 1E, and this is the largest item that I have on the current agenda. Item 1E, along with a couple of others, are tied to approval of item 1B. Item 1B moves the threshold of our continuing contracts from that existing specific cap of $4 million, what was the prior Florida statute, to match the new Florida statute limit of the $7.5 million plus annual authorized increases authorized by the state. So this work, if you recall, a year ago, we added and modified a couple of door openings at Cruise Terminal 6, the fixed concourse. Commissioner Justice, yes.
Sorry, could you just refresh the history of the $4 million?
Absolutely.
The dates, just so everybody's a context.
So continuing contracts are competitively bid contracts, and they are a master services agreement. Some people in the military will call them IDIQ, indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity types of contracts that then we can subsequently issue purchase orders against. Under Florida statute, those are called continuing contracts, and these are construction management at-risk contracts. So we have 6 landside contracts, and those specific contractors are listed in the agenda. We have 1 waterside contract, so it's a total of 7 contract amendments. Originally, when we wrote them, the Florida statute limit was $2 million. In 2020, statutory limit was raised due to cost of construction and other factors to $4 million, and we modified our contracts at that time. That statutory limit is now raised to $7.5 million, and the Department of Management Services will publish annual CPI, authorized CPI increases to that amount. So we are seeking permission to have our contracts mirror the Florida statute limit from 287,055.
Thanks.
That's consent item 1B.
1B, that is item 1B. Item 1E, Cruise Terminal 6 is the only multi-use facility that we have where that fixed concourse bridge that passengers walk down before they get onto the mobile gangway, it doesn't have the continuous glass sliders. We spent $600,000 or $700,000 modifying openings for the Vista class. We face a similar scenario with the Princess fleet of vessels and other vessels projected to visit this facility. So we are going to replace that fixed concourse specific openings with continuous glass sliders. That is a very heavy lift. There is structural steel cross bracing hidden behind the metal panels that cover that facade that will have to be removed and replaced with tubular steel headers and other structural supports. Modification of the concrete slab to fit the bottom track of the sliding glass doors. We're going to modify the passenger boarding bridge so that those outlets now occur at ramp level, first floor as opposed to second floor, adding a significant number of outlets for the passenger boarding bridge doors to fit in, modifying and extending the reinforced concrete runways so that those passenger boarding bridges translate from one end of the pier to the other. And then because we are replacing an insulated wall panel with glass, we have to do significant increases to the HVAC load to that fixed concourse. So it's a very critical improvement. It brings a lot of versatility to the future projected vessels that will be calling at CT6. And it is highly sought after by the cruise lines as well. Allows them to use both gangways, port side 2, starboard side 2 for the various vessels. Any questions on this item? Moving on, and I know Dave Sargent was in the audience earlier. This is related to Firehouse 52. I know it's been a long time coming, but we're really glad to be able to replace the roof at Firehouse 52, which is just behind the Maritime Center, and construct a much-needed storage facility. It's about 6,000 square foot, about 60 by 100, and it will sit just to the east of their existing fire training tower, if you're familiar with the fire training facility behind the Maritime Center. So this is to Canaveral Construction. It will be naturally ventilated with some big fans hanging from the inside ceiling of this facility. It'll have a couple of restrooms with a mini split unit to condition that air. And just a great add to our firefighting response capability and the ability to store out of the elements a lot of expensive and technical equipment that they use on a regular basis.
Chief, have anything to add? Oh, thanks.
So those are the three items I did want to highlight for the commission here in the presentation. As you're aware, I have a whole host of other items in the consent agenda. If you would like to discuss them now, or feel free to discuss them later, obviously. Yes, sir.
I'd like to talk just for a minute about 1G and the feasibility expansion
Yes.
on the north side. Just to make a comment, really, we are all talking, like most people are, on awe of what commercial space, what's happening in the commercial space world, and certainly what happened just recently in the commercial space world with SpaceX's capturing of the Starship.
Very impressive.
And landing of both the first stage and the second stage, and the reusability. And just to make a point that all this, the challenge we have about our peer space and all the different demands, and it's not always increasing demand. I mean, it's something like this happens, and now we're going to have less demand eventually. Eventually, there will not be the maritime phase to one of these commercial space organizations' operations, which is going to free up. There's that side to it. I just want to make sure that this study stays at that strategic level and really takes into account all these dynamics that are just. We're living in amazing times. I'll just leave it there. Thanks.
Certainly appreciate that comment, and absolutely, item 1G, the focus on Cruise Terminal 10 as an existing facility. There are limitations that come with that, but we are being strategic about the specific vessels that will call it CT10. This feasibility study of the building will right size the baggage laydown area, the passenger seating area, any needed modifications to CBP. There's also a component of that will be a waterside mooring analysis that will identify any mooring improvements needed pier side, water side for the facility, and it does include a traffic study that will evaluate traffic increases from Terminal 10, all of the north side terminals, 5, 6, 8, and 10. And completely agree that it was very impressive to watch the land-based capture of the Big Falcon rocket first stage, Falcon Heavy. Mr. Chairman.
And when is the crane demolition going to start? Item 1B.
I was going to pull that, but why don't we you fill us in about Clyde's cranes and what's going to happen there?
Yes, the surgical deconstruction of the two ship-to-shore cranes is on the agenda today. So that was a competitive bid, invitation to bid public award project. Really excited to finally bring that back to the table and award that project. It's about $1.6 million. It will start fairly soon. As soon as we issue that purchase order, there's a lot of environmental preparations that Bob's department will be managing as far as removing of fuel and fluids, hydraulic fluids from those cranes to make them environmentally safe prior to the deconstruction. And they will be completely off our wharf by April 15th is the substantial completion date. So we'll start to see a lot of deconstruction occurring in earnest after the start of the new year when they have their large cranes mobilized. And I just want to underscore that it is a surgical and very engineering-based deconstruction. So the contractor will hire their own engineer to reevaluate the structural calculations as far as the lift plans, the rigging plans, to pull off specifically the boom and the back reach that are very large components of the crane.
No dynamite, you're saying?
No controlled collapse. So there's so much going on around that facility with the Blue Origin Liebherr crane and our mobile harbor cranes that this is the right approach to take those cranes down. So we're all excited to see the space open up there at North Cargo Berth 6.
And Clyde, you have to be relieved that your cranes are going to be going away.
I think before they're demolished, there ought to be a picture of Clyde standing by them because I think they are Clyde's cranes. For some reason, I don't know why.
Not quite sure.
They've been his babies since they've been here, I think.
I think he should climb up one last time.
Okay.
I haven't climbed up one time at all.
All right, thank you very much, Bill.
Bill, one quick question. The CEMEX.
Yes.
December, early December?
December 1 is when we have told our contractor, Orion Marine, that they need to be clear of that 185-foot safety radius around the CEMEX towers. So Allied Bean is the demo contractor for CEMEX. So they will start to mobilize in the month of December. They'll have a very large crane or two mobilized to the site. So the demolition of that facility will happen roughly at the same time that the cranes are coming down. But the duration they have projected is, I think, 6 or 7 months to fully demolish those facilities. They'll start with removing the top, and then my understanding is it will be a wrecking ball approach as they start to collapse the silos in on themselves. Those are all of my items. And any other questions that the commission has?
I don't have any more questions. Anyone else?
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Melanie, do we have any public comment on the consent agenda? Thank you. All right, moving along here. I'll start with Mr. Von Volkenberg. Do you have any items to pull, sir?
Nothing to pull, Chairman.
Commissioner Justice.
Nothing to pull.
Commissioner Allender.
Nothing to pull.
And Commissioner Markey.
Nothing.
I'm going to pull number 2A. All right, do I hear a motion to approve 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, 1E, 1F, 1G, 1H, 1I, 1J, 1K, 3A, 3B?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the consent agenda. All in favor? Aye. No opposed? Thank you. And in an effort to publicly highlight how we are working with the space industry, item 2A, John, is there anyone that can kind of fill us in on what we're doing there?
I think Craig will take care of it.
Good morning, Commissioners. Item 2A is a temporary construction easement which will allow Blue Origin to complete improvements on the north side of 401, really basically across of Seaport Canaveral's fuel station. And what that will allow is the transport of their booster when it is recovered and brought to berth and then transported up onto 401. These additional improvements are necessary so they can basically swing around the mast arms of the light signals along 401. And really, this construction project will be completely done by Blue Origin. They have received their permits from both FDOT and DEP. I expect them to commence construction fairly quickly.
Good. And I wonder if they're going to use that for their launch that's coming up on the 30th of November. So that'll be good to see. Thank you, Craig.
You're welcome.
And I would also like to highlight the ever-changing world of space with the launch of SpaceX's rocket and successful landing. So it looks like SpaceX may actually be doing less business in the port as Blue Origin ramps up. So we all look forward to seeing a successful launch, and that's all I have to say about this item. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to approve item 2A on the consent agenda.
Second.
We have motion and second. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Any more public comment, ma'am? We have no public comment. And commissioner reports. Commissioner Von Volkenberg.
Nothing to add today, Mr. Commissioner.
Just a couple things. Had a chance to give a port update to the Cocoa Beach Rotary group there. Want to pump the Propeller Club. Our last luncheon, we had a nice brief from a local company, Global Clean Diesel. And then next Propeller Club, I've got a warrant officer from Coast Guard coming up from Miami to talk about John, what's PAR stand for again? The Coast Guard.
Ports Access Study, right? Route study.
Yeah, Port Access Route Study. He's going to come up and give that presentation at the Propeller Club. So looking forward to that. And then finally, this afternoon, I'm heading over to Tampa for the International Propeller Club's annual convention. And it's over in Tampa this year. That's all I've got, thanks.
Good, thank you. Commissioner Allender?
I have nothing, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Markey?
I have none.
I did attend Breakbulk last week with port staff, and very educational on a lot of international companies, a lot of our vendors here, importers. I think our lumber supplier was there. It was nice to see some of the people that actually use our port and use it for cargo. So it was a very good event. And with that, I'd like a motion to adjourn the meeting to December. Our next meeting will be December 11th.
Mr. Chairman?
At 9
Could
a.m. John?
I just make one comment. I neglected during my presentation to introduce a new member of our team. Vance, would you stand up? Vance Gilligan has joined us from Princess Cruise Line, but Vance has spent a very, very long career at Carnival Cruise Line in their communications department. So we have a former cruise line executive inside of our team now working in communications. So I just wanted to introduce him to everybody. You'll be seeing him around, and you'll say, who's that guy? Now you know.
So in other words, what he learned on that side, he's going to bring to this side.
Absolutely. That's why he's here. Thanks.
Welcome, Vance. And with that, our next meeting is December 11th. Meeting adjourned.